Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second in a series of hacking tutorials. Today, we're going to learn how to build the continuously moving Ferris wheel that is peepable. I say continuously moving, but it does stop once on the layout. But essentially, it's a custom Ferris wheel that you can customize to any size and shape that you like. Doesn't need to be a circle, doesn't need to be really anything. In particular, you can customize it to whatever your heart desires. So I'm going to show you how to do this in the standard form you see here, and then you can take that and do whatever you like with it. So to get started, a couple of things that we need. The first one here being the vehicles, which are the SpaceK Ferris wheel cars. This is a custom ride that SpaceK has built. You can get this over on New Element in the Object Custom Scenery section, or download a number of parks that have this Ferris wheel already. For this custom scenery piece, we have also used the Ferris wheel side piece. This is by Fish. This was just a piece for the standard size here. It fits naturally on the loop of track that we're using to make the Ferris wheel. So if you want to build something this size, this is a good option. You can also do something custom as well. Either way, it's just fine. So what we're going to be doing to do this hack is a shoestring. We're going to be using shuttle mode for that shoestring, and it's all pretty straightforward. But with any hacking like this, it's sometimes a trial and error method. So that's why we built this one ahead of time, just to make sure that we were in good shape. So let's get started. We're going to go find a nice little home over here to start. And first we want to figure out where we want that Ferris wheel. So we're going to pick a coaster just to start with. It can be any coaster really. I use the junior coaster just because. So I want the entrance and the exit to be right here. So we can build a couple of station pieces here. It doesn't need to be any more or less. But at least say one piece. It doesn't need to be any more. So we'll put the entrance on this side, the exit on this side. And then we're going to back up out of that station, because what we need is for all the vehicles, which are on here, there are 16 in total, if you'll see. Plus, as part of this custom ride, you'll see this little white cube. So that white cube is kind of the key to making this a pretty clean hack overall. The purpose of a shoestring, basically, is to break off the front car, which we call the control, and we're going to send that underground, and that's going to run on an oval or whatever shape layout, and that's going to control the wheel above, and the actual station for the ride is going to be up underground, but we're going to put it directly underneath of our dummy station here, such that it looks like the peeps just get right onto the wheel. But what we need to do is make sure that these 16 cars here can fit behind this whole little stretch of track. So we're going to go about, let's say, that far. Again, it's trial and error more than anything, but we'll call it that. Now, you need Open RCT2 to do this easily. So we're going to open up the cheats menu here, and we're going to go into rides. We need to make sure that three things are enabled. We need to show all operating modes, we need to allow arbitrary ride type changes, and we need to show vehicles from other track types. So all three of those need to be checked. You can check the other ones too if you like. And then I also have zero clearances enabled, so disable clearance checks. So we'll click back on our ride. And we're going to go to the train type, and then we're going to change it. So here's the SpaceK Ferris wheel cars. We're going to change it there. You'll see 16 cars as the natural default here, which is convenient. Like I said, that fits properly here. If you do a different shape of Ferris wheel or some other kind of random sized thing, you'll figure it out by trial and error as to how many vehicles you need, but you can go up or down in order to make that happen. But 16 it is, and then we're also going to change this into shuttle mode. So let's find that. It's right here, fifth down. In order to use shuttle mode, you need a second station. Now you can use this as a dummy station below, but I prefer not to. So we're going to put that other station just back here tacked onto the end. Doesn't need to be any more than one tile, so we're just going to make it that. But what's key here is that we need to make sure that when we do test this, that the entire train is not into that next station. So let's just do a quick test and stop. So all 16 cars you can see stop right there. So I've got a couple more pieces than I need. If you're looking to save object space, then you can delete it right up to it. But if this Ferris wheel car sticks in there, then it won't work for the hack, or you'll have some issues with it. So just keep that in mind as you go through. Another thing to note here is that these cars are set up for inverted coaster track, so they do hang one below. The way that we're doing this, it is going to end up just like this guy right here. So you can kind of bear with it. You just need to look underground to see all this. Again, you'll see at the front, there's this little cube piece right here, which is kind of the key to all of this. So the first thing that we want to do is set this up so we get rid of that cube. We want to split it from the rest of the train. So what we're going to do is take this guy this way, and we're just going to go, let's pick to about here. What we want to do is get the entire train out of the station and over onto this straight track. And then we want to split off the front piece. So with shuttle mode, whenever the train reaches the end of the track, it's going to bounce and head back in the other direction. Any section or any end track is convenient with that kind of a ride. So what we're going to do is when this train bounces off of here and starts heading the other direction, we're going to tell that front piece, which happens to be the cube, to go off in a different direction, and then we're going to tell the rest of the train to go off and enter our loop. So what we're going to do is delete the second to last piece. So we have all the track, a gap, and then one, and then we're going to right click on this back one. And then we're going to build a spur here with the S bend. And then we're going to go back and fill this in. When you do a split, you need to build the exit track first, and then come back and build the entrance into it. So that was important that we deleted this and then built the S bend and then put it back. So we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to delete this. We're going to go a couple back, and then we're going to put this back in place. So this, now, our entire train should be past this merge. It needs to be past this merge and bounce back, and then when it bounces back, the front little cube is going to go off in this direction, and the rest of the train is going to go off straight. So we can test this just to make sure that we're on the right track. And we'll wait here. We can speed it up a little bit if we want to push it through. So you can use the plus or minus keys to speed up time and open RCT. So we'll go twice fast here. We'll push fast forward. Now we'll slow it back down. So you can see we're about to reach the end, and we're going to bounce. And then you're going to see this guy split, which it does. And then you're going to see the rest of the train go backwards. And now you see when it reaches the end, it's going to bounce and hit and go back in the other direction. That's fine. We don't need to worry about that right now. So now we're going to set up our Ferris wheel itself. So that is a loop of track that uses the quarter loop. So we'll pick any coaster type that uses the quarter loop. You can use the Premier, the limb motor track, or you can use the B&M track here. So we're going to pick this one. What's important to note is that we want to hit this in the same direction of travel here. So you can see the way we're currently facing in this direction according to the arrow, and we're going to turn it around. So we're going to actually pick up one and turn this guy around, and we're going in this direction up to the northwest of the screen, I suppose. So what we want to do when we pick our track here is we want to make sure we're facing in that same direction. So we're going to pick an uphill for this. I'm going to go one up above this, so you can see our station is at 0. We're going to go at 1, and then you're going to go vert to steep to vertical, quarter loop, and back again. So there is the loop that will become the Ferris wheel. Now we need to back the train in. For convenience sake, I like to use this and this loop of track and basically back the train into it. Run that train a full loop past the merge while our cube is going off backwards, and then we're going to hit another spot where we're going to bounce it back in the other direction and send it underground onto what we call our dummy loop. So in order to do that, we need to make this merge here, which is essentially a backwards merge again. So like I said earlier, when you do a merge where something's going to reverse, you need to build the exit first and then the entrance. So we want to come out here with this piece of straight track, because because we're going to merge these guys together. But then we got to go back. It's a little tedious, and delete this guy and complete the circle once again, because that's where we want this to end up. And then we're going to build the entry into it with a straight piece. So 1 here, and it's merged. Now this guy, being a 1-to-1 straight merge in, we merge 1 into 2, 1 and 2, and that one's merged now also. So now our loop is complete. So the idea is this is going to bounce here and back its way through this loop. And we want the whole train to get through that loop beyond that merge point before we send it back in the forwards direction again, where the wheel will continue. So we're going to build a long section of track right here and go through that exit, doesn't matter. And the idea is that we're going to bump that train again right out here. So let's give it a test just to take a look here before we do anything else. Again, we'll speed this up a little bit. We'll go triple time here, and you'll notice it will bounce off just like this and split off again. Now we are going to do that merge that you can see there as this cube still continues along. So you'll notice that the Ferris wheel is self-powered. It's because it's based off of a car ride, so you really don't have to worry about it. It will slow down here as it climbs up, but once you get the whole thing in a loop, it will equalize itself out. So you're down to 2 miles an hour, but that's okay. We'll continue through. All right, we still have some track here left as we have this guy going along. We want this to get fully in, as we said, fully past that merge. And there we are. It's fully in. And we're not at the end of the track yet, so that's good news. All right, so what we want to do next is build our dummy track. So like I said earlier, the dummy track is what actually controls the ride vehicle in the loop, and this is the main element here. So it is vehicle 1, which happens to be the cube in this instance. So we're going to come down and we're going to lower a piece of, unpause it first, then we're going to lower a piece of track in here, and then we're going to build 1 back, and that is going to be where our station sits essentially. Now, unfortunately, when you're constructing here currently in RCT underground, you can't construct and also look underground at the same time, which is a little bit of a hassle, but we'll be all right with that. So we have 2 station pieces right underneath our other station. Like I said, this is just a visual thing so that when peeps go in, they don't suddenly transport elsewhere. Now with the cube, no guests are actually riding that, but it's essentially an invisible front car that has minimal visibility, so it's easy to see. Now I always take this station and extend it backwards out a couple, let's say 4 total, just so it slows down a little bit. So the ride is moving, and then when it hits the station, it naturally slows down a little bit, so it kind of eases to a stop. You can take that or leave it however you like it to be. So what we're going to do here is build an oval. So we'll just go out. We're building blind here, but that's fine. And this is essentially as long as you want the ride to be. Because we're doing a dummy track, you can actually adjust this while the ride is running later, which we'll take a look at. So we're going to go in a big loop here. Now, one thing to note is if you are ever doing this kind of a hack, this shoestring, with a ride that works under gravity, such as a roller coaster, you're going to need a chain lift on this piece, on this underground. So the entirety of the thing needs to have a chain lift. In order to do that, you go into cheats, and you'll go in here and you'll say, check this, allow chain lift on all track pieces, and then you're going to make this whole thing a chain, and basically that's going to power it through. So when you do things like our 2x2 flat ride hack that we already did, that's how you're going to do it. But in this case, since it's a self-powered ride, you don't need that, and it's nice and quiet, so it doesn't affect the overall viewing experience. All right, so we're going to jump back here, and now we're going to connect our cube down to the dummy track. So again, we're going to remove the second to last piece, and then we're going to come in here, and we're going to put down, and we're going to just follow the numbers here since we're kind of building blind, and we're going to go down here. We will S-bend into this ride somewhere here, and there we are. You can't quite see it there, but we have merged in, and now if you look below, you can see it's merged in, and then we're going to take this and we're going to connect it. Alrighty, so this should be everything that we need to make this happen. So let's test this out and see what we're doing. Again, we'll speed up some time here. Now, the curvature that I've done on this really has no bearing on anything. You can do it wherever you want it to be. I just like this because it's nice and compact and it looks clean. But you can do it in whatever shape you want it to be. You just need to make sure those lengths are correct, so you get the full train onto each of the pieces. So now it should get ready to bounce right here. And we do. And now we're going to head down, and we will continue down. And you can see the cube right there. Now it's leveled out again. It's about to merge onto this red track. And so here we come along, and we're going to enter that station here. And then we're going to slow down, and it will stop. And now we're going to take off again, and now it's on the red track. And this determines how long the ride is from station until this gets back to the station. That determines how long it is. One note of importance, since the shuttle mode has 2 stations up here, we have a station 1, which is this guy underneath, and then this in the back is station 2. This one underneath needs to be station 1, or whatever this station is. If this one happens to be station 2, then you need to rebuild it. So this is station 1. These two have to match. Because basically, this station down here is what we call the dummy station. So this one is coming in here, doesn't have any huts because the game thinks that you're entering this station and returning back to home, so you're using this hut. So key feature there to make sure you keep in mind as you're going through all this. All right, so now we finished the hack, essentially, and we can make this invisible. One other comment, if you did want to speed this up for whatever reason, then do make this a chain down below, and then you go onto this track, your main track here, and you go in and you increase that lift chain speed to something higher up, whichever speed you want it to be. So now, just because we want to have this nice and clean, we're going to name things. So this big blue track here, this is the Junior Coaster 1. This is the main Ferris wheel, so we will call this whatever you want to call your ride. So this is the Ferris wheel. And then underneath, we've got our red track. So this is going to be the dummy wheel track down below. And then we're also going to take this guy, the steel twister here, and we're going to call this the fake wheel. You can call it whatever you want, just something clean in case you ever need to make them visible again so you can find them. All right, so to clean this all up, we're going to take first our track below. You can keep it visible if you want, or you don't have to. It's either or. And we're going to make this crooked house just to make it go away. Easy enough. Then we're going to take the Junior Coaster here, which is our Ferris wheel, and we're also going to call this one Crooked House. Done. Now we have to get rid of this guy, but you can't do Crooked House on this one because it won't work. If you do, the wheel is going to bounce back. The vehicles are going to bounce back and forth a couple of times. This needs to have some kind of a track ride. So I've tried a number of different things, and you can use a number of different things, such as like submarine, for example, or even chairlift. But you'll notice the straight pieces and these 2 curved pieces that we've used cause a little bit of pain. What I found works is elevator. Elevator has no effect on this and works just fine. So why don't we call it that? So we will call it that and be done. And then you'll notice too, with the way that we've set these up, if you are building this size of a wheel, we can plop this bad boy in here and make the scenery visible, and you'll see it fits just very perfectly. You will note that below they are chopping into the land a little bit, so this will have to be lowered just to get them through there, such as that. So you can see that I've done that over here also. So this is all you need now. If you wanted to change those car colors, it does have to be visible. So let's say we did want to change those. Let's make this back to be whatever coaster it wants to be, just so you can have an option to paint it, and we can paint these guys red or whatever it may be. And then once you're done, you're going to go back to Crooked House mode. So we will build that queue line there, and then we're going to come back around also, and we will build the exit pathway here a little bit closer than we probably ought to have done. Because the track was on the ground, even though it's invisible, you'll note that it didn't connect here as we jumped through this track. So if we make this track visible, you can see that it was there. So what we can do is look at this, and we can connect to these pieces in Tile Inspector, go in there, highlight the footpath, and then actually connect those bits just to make sure that works. Alternatively, you can go under it Or alternatively, you can build this track up in the air somewhere. It doesn't really matter. You can kind of do whatever you like with it. So we will connect to this, and we're going to open this up so then the guest can start riding it. The last cleanup bits and pieces, we're going to take our tile inspector, highlight the exit hut, click entrance, and then insert a null object to make this invisible. Or actually, now that I've thinking through, we can actually go in here under the paint and just click no entrance. So that's going to make these go away. One thing though, going back a little bit, we have our second station here. What you might consider doing is actually placing this one underground just so it doesn't get in the way, and you can place a mechanic here just in case for safety, but place a path on this guy, because otherwise you're going to keep getting these notes at the bottom that this one has no path, which is fair, it does not, but then you can place a mechanic here just in case things break down and they need to get to the station. Sometimes it can be wonky like that. But let's go back, and then we're going to make this no entrance, and there you have it. That is a working Ferris wheel. It will go the full lap down below, so we're about to stop here. You can see the cube, and then once it stops, it's going to load up, and it'll load up everybody at once, and once it loads up that whole bit, then we'll start up again. So it does stop, but it only stops once, which is convenient. The guest will walk as far as the farthest piece here, but there you have it, and we are complete. So hope you enjoyed that tutorial. If you have other things that you'd like to see me do as a tutorial, feel free to leave a note in the comments and let me know what you'd like to see. Or if you have any different comments for this one, please let me know. There are lots of ways to do hacks. This is not the only way by any means. There's lots of different ways to do this. This is just the way that I happen to do it. So feel free to share other ideas also, and offer any suggestions too. But this is a good method that I find relatively straightforward to do these kind of rides. So hope you enjoy it, and until next time, thank you very much for watching.